Hey, it's Jess, and welcome back to another speed build in the Havens Hollow Save Files series that I've been working on for a while. We are finally starting Cavalier's Cove in Brindleton Bay, which is kind of that beachy area in Brindleton Bay where the really big lots are. This is one of the smaller lots, and this lot will end up being the AIRBNB. You can see in the top corner there what it is. So if you are not familiar with this save file that I've been working on, basically the general idea is that it's a missing person mystery that you have to solve in-game, and this Airbnb is a really important lot because the player character that you will be playing in this game will be taking up residence in the Airbnb. So any way you want to make your player character, the general idea is that they are, kind of a big city detective that has come out here to kind of solve this disappearance. Anyways, this is where they will be staying for the duration of their time in Havens Hollow. I forgot the name for a second. I don't know how, but this is the Airbnb. It is based off of like Cape Cod style. That's kind of the whole style I'm kind of going with for the entire neighborhood of Cavalier's Cove. Because that's kind of the style that's already there in this area of Brindleton Bay. And it's also very New England and rich New England, and this area is kind of rich. There is one house here that is the very opposite, which is like the only house that is not super rich in the entire save. But this is not that. This is the Airbnb, Cape Cod style. It is smaller, but my idea is it's kind of a couple's getaway because there's like one bedroom and it's really big, and there's like a bunch of seating for two, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of seating, way more than two people, but that is the general idea. This is probably like a couple's Airbnb getaway in Havens Hollow. But for our purposes, it is kind of the nicer Airbnb in town because, there's not a lot. This is like a very small town. There's not like Airbnbs all over the place. But this is one of the nicer ones, so this is the one that the detective is put out, your player character. So this will become a home that is very used in the save, at least to like cook and sleep and all that fun stuff. And I do end up making it a vacation rental. I don't know if it will be that way in the final save because it might have to just be, what is the word I'm looking for? A residential lot. And it has everything it needs to be a residential lot. But the reason I say that is because the save, the way it works, like it doesn't really make sense to move your sim into a different lot and then have them vacation on this lot. But I guess like you can do that if you want, especially since, this challenge of the save is not to make make money. So you can like cheat money in this save. So we'll see how it works out. But as it is on the gallery, which if you want to download this, it is on my gallery ID, which is linked below. TiniestGuitar _58 or something like that. I don't remember. But it is linked there. You can access it and play in this house immediately. If you like it, you can make it residential, you can make it a vacation rental, you can do whatever you want to it. But basically, I wanted to make this house look kind of like an Airbnb, so it's not cluttered inside. Like there's some clutter, but it's nothing crazy because this is a house that you rent and you come to as like a couple or maybe a single person to visit Havens Hollow. Which is why there is some, I guess, paintings in here to like kind of dictate what is Havens Hollow and like the history behind it. Because it is a rental, and I'm guessing this is used for like people who want to learn more about Havens Hollow. Not a lot of people come here for vacations. It's just a small kind of New England town, so nothing too exciting about that. Anyways, this house is very empty, as I said, and it's also kind of like, it's not cute. I mean, it is, but I don't know, I've never done the Cape Cod style before, so it's not something I am used to or have done a lot, and therefore I'm not sure how to make it look fantastic. So if it's terrible, like, my bad, but I tried. And that's all that really matters now, isn't it? Anywho, let's talk a bit about life stuff now. So what's new? I am pretty much just waiting to immigrate. My life isn't all that interesting, but this week I've done very little. I need to do a bunch of stuff for my job, and I've been reading my library book. I took out this library book, like, let's see, sometime in December, probably like December 10th or something, like early December, and I have renewed it like 5 times, and I'm still not finished. I'm not even halfway through. Now, to be fair to me, this book is like 700 pages long. And it's not that it's not good, because I can, like, get through and read a boring book if I have to, but it's a good book. I just can't read fast with it. And I'm not sure why. It's not particularly difficult. I just can't sit and read and read and read and read, even though it's really good. Maybe my attention span's just gone. You know, this is what social media does to you. This is what video gaming does to you, honestly, because you're like constantly stimulated when you play video games. But yeah, I am trying to read, trying my absolute hardest, and it's not easy because my attention span is just not there, even though it's a really, really good book. And I'm enjoying the book, I'm enjoying the content, and it's like super interesting and keeps you engaged. It doesn't like fail to keep you engaged. I just cannot bring myself to like sit down and read in like 100-page sitting. You know, I did that once with this book, but I can't do it anymore. I'm like, what do I do? Because I've extended my library loan for like 2 months now, the entire month of December and the entire month of January, because the loan is now due on the 4th, and I don't even think I can get it done by the 4th of February. But I need to get it done before I leave. So I am on a time crunch. So I've been trying to read. I brought it to places with me. So like I went to the dentist today and I watched my sister get her teeth cleaned, and I brought the book and I read it. But even still, I didn't get much done. Like, I maybe read 20-30 pages while she was at the dentist, and of course, like, getting your teeth cleaned doesn't take all that long, but that's still kind of pathetic. But I'm the person who like can't read quickly, because if I read quickly, I just don't understand the content whatsoever. So I kind of just have to deal with not reading quickly. I have to just accept the fact that I am a slow reader, because I am. But yeah, I've been reading that, and that has kind of been my week. I am 300 pages in now, so I'm getting towards that halfway point. I'm pretty close, only 100 pages left, the halfway point. But I need to crack down, because I want to finish this book before I leave, because it's a library book, so I can't bring it with me, and also I don't want to bring a big, hunky, like a 700-page book on an airplane flight with me. Like, that's almost ridiculous. So I have to figure out a way to cope with reading this huge, gigantic book. You know, I could always, like, buy it myself or find an audiobook. But I hate audiobooks. I can find, like, an online version of it, but I hate reading online. I like having a physical book. I only read online if it's short books, like, usually never more than 300 pages. Because reading that much on a screen, it's, like, crazy. I already spend too much time looking at screens. Like, being on my phone, or playing these games, or, like, editing these videos. Like, I spend so much time on a screen. So when I'm reading, I want to read on a physical like page, if that makes sense. Especially since if I look at a screen too long when I'm reading white on black text, even black with white text, I realize I said that weird. When I do that, like, it just gives me a headache. You know, I already have a headache condition, so doing that on top of that is just too much. Like, I can do screens with colors and stuff, but just like the black and white, I don't know what it is. It just messes with my brain. And reading like the tiny text on the phone screen also isn't fun, which, to be fair, you can make it bigger, but I don't want to make it bigger because I like my text being small. So really I'm just complaining about nothing right now, which is, and that's me for sure. Let's talk more about the build. I did not know what to do with the backyard. Like, I think you can tell from how I did it. What would be in the back of an Airbnb? I've never been in an Airbnb before, so I would not know. I've only ever been in like hotels and hostels. I don't have enough money to have Airbnbs, and I have no friends to help me pay for an Airbnb. So, and when I do travel with friends, we always do hostels because they're cheap. And when you're traveling, like, you're not really you're not in the room all that much. So it's not important to get like a really nice place unless you think you're going to be in a nice place the whole time. Now for like this context, it makes sense because your player character is going to be in this room like every single day, basically, because they have to sleep here, they have to cook here. They're going to be spending more time in here than someone who's like doing normal vacation, because your player character is trying to solve like this missing person mystery. So, lore-wise, there's not much to talk about with this place. I mean, I can't tell you about the player character because you make the player character. And it's just like, well, there's that. There's nothing to comment about the player character because you make them. So I can't like sit here and describe the player character. I guess I can say what I'd make the player character like. That could be interesting. I'm probably gonna, like, I don't know if I'm gonna play this because I'll know the mystery. But I guess I should play it to make sure you can, like, finish the mystery within the 14-day timeline. Should probably do that, honestly. But, yeah, my player character would probably be a girl, because I like playing with girl sims. Because I am also a girl, and that's just how life is. But, probably, you know, very big city cop, stereotypical, thinks she knows everything, but turns out she doesn't, is very kind but stubborn, a bit of a perfectionist. That's what I imagine my player character would be like. So if you want to take inspiration from that, go ahead. But really, you make your player character however you wish to. Like, they can literally be anything from like a really old man who kind of has fallen off as a detective, to like someone who's only been working as a detective for a few years. Anything like that. Just make your own backstory. This is where you actually gonna make the backstory, because, well, the backstory doesn't matter too much. I mean, in your own gameplay, of course it does, but it doesn't impact the story having your own backstory, so you can literally make anything you want. And then the only thing that it impacts is I have added deputies, or I guess plan to. I haven't made any sense for the save file yet, but I plan to add 3 deputies, which will all be young adults, so it might be a little weird in that regard, because the whole plan with the deputies is that your player character can maybe romance them a little bit. But yeah, those deputies will all be young adults. So a little weird if you make this old man and have him romance one of these young adults. But to each their own, I suppose. I won't judge you if you do. I do like the idea of like an old man detective. It sounds like a fun one to play with. But I would personally do a young girl, especially since I'll do 2 guy deputies and 1 girl deputy, so choices. Choices for all, basically. But yeah, that's the general lore, I suppose, that this house goes with, because I don't have much else to say. You know, you get to create your own person. They have their own life and their own backstory that you get to create. It's kind of the one thing that you're allowed to add your own story to, because everything else is so set in stone with the mystery. So having a background of who you want your player character to be is also kind of important, because then you can decide how they would approach solving a mystery. You know, either you play through the case file as if, like, just making choices you think are good, or maybe, like, on your first playthrough, or even, like, future playthroughs, you can go through and play it based on the detective that you make, and say, okay, this is a decision I think this detective would make, or this is a decision I don't think this detective would make, and maybe that creates folly, and because your detective has a certain personality, they don't end up solving the crime and end up with one of the unsolved endings. Speaking of which, I haven't talked about the endings much in a while. I've started to develop them a little bit. You know, it's hard because these endings rely heavily on making the rest of the case file, but I have decided kind of the basis of what the endings should be, and I think there's 2 or 3. Well, no, there's one way to, like, completely unsolve the mystery and fail, basically, but there's multiple ways to get that ending. I might make 2, though, because I don't know. I guess I'll figure that out when I get to it. But I'm thinking I might make 2. One with, like, you absolutely know nothing, and 2 with you don't solve the mystery because you took too long. Stuff like that, maybe. We'll see. But yes, there is unsolved, there is partially solved, and fully solved endings, which I think is fun. You know, to have, like, this mystery where, based on what you do and which route you take through the case file, it impacts how you end up winning or losing. So that's fun. Now let's talk a bit more about the build. I did, like, this white, gray, blue, cream colorway. I think it ends up looking really good. I want it to be very clean and polished, because as I said, this is an Airbnb. This is not a home. This is a place for someone to stay, and it should be very nice. You know, I imagine maybe even the city runs this Airbnb to kind of, like, bring in tourism, if that makes sense. Speaking of which, I do imagine this used to be a house, and it was, like, newly renovated and made into an Airbnb. Interesting. And that's not, like, too much in lore. That's not going to impact the game much, but that's just my general idea of how this house came to be. I believe I put that on the gallery upload. I don't know. But yeah, I like the color scheme. I think it looks cool. It's very clean and polished and very Cape Cod. When I think Cape Cod, I think white, creams, grays, and blues. Like, blue is pretty much the only color besides, you know, non-colors like white and gray. And I guess cream isn't a non-color, but it kind of feels that way. And it's 2 floors, 2 bathrooms, 1 bedroom. As I said, I imagine this is, you know, maybe like a couple's Airbnb or even a singles. And it's being used, of course, by a singular person in the gameplay. But I like how it turned out on the inside a little bit more than the outside. The outside just kind of feels a little awkward, but as I said, I don't do this style often, and I've tried on really big houses, so maybe it's a good idea to start with the small house, because the rest of the houses in this neighborhood will probably also be inspired by, you know, Cape Cod, and having really huge mansions that are Cape Cod inspired, I imagine it's going to take me a while. So I don't know if there's going to be weekly episodes of this for the next couple of weeks. Also because I have to, like, do stuff with moving and everything. But, like, these are huge lots that I have to fill with gigantic houses. And I just imagine it's going to take a really, really long time. Anyways, we're moving on to the bedroom here, which was really hard for me to figure out how to furnish because it is so big. And, you know, like, I've furnished big bedrooms before, but this is huge. And usually with, like, big bedrooms, I at least have an idea of like the sim who's going to be there and what it's going to look like, but for this it has to be neutral because no one lives here. It's an Airbnb, so I have to just kind of roll with it. I ended up liking it. As I said, the color restrictions kind of helped because I could filter by color and figure out what I wanted from it, and I think it ends up looking decent. You know, it's not a masterpiece by any means, but it gets the job done, and I think it's nice enough to be like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to be in here for, you know, this whole entire time. Might as well make it look good so that, you know, you guys will have to see this whenever you play. Whenever you come home to sleep after a hard day of detective work, you will have to see this stupid house. So I wanted it to be at least aesthetically interesting a little bit. You know, it's kind of empty, but as I said, that's kind of the point because, you know, it's a small Airbnb. Anyways, I've talked for a lot and we're getting towards the end of it, and my voice keeps breaking and I sound like I'm sick. I'm not, but I kind of sound like it. So that being said, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's a shorter one, which I love, because then I don't have to strain my voice for like 40 minutes. Anyways, please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. Peace and love. Bye.